Hello, welcome to Have Ritual Travel. My name is Lisa Elvin Stoltari, and I am a genealogist and a passionate traveler. I am, focused on genealogy, of course, and Quebec genealogy in particular. Over the last year or so, we have been exploring Les Filles du Roi, examining each and every one of these 700 women. We're up to, I think this is episode number 132 that we're at. So, yeah, we've got a long way to go. Before we begin, let me make sure to introduce you to my new icons on this page. I've got the subscribe button, finally, put it on there. So if you are interested in this subject, please subscribe, click on like to be able to share it with as many people as possible. And don't forget to click on the notifications alert so you'll be alerted each and every time I post new content. I've got 3 new sets of icons. One is a company called Ko-fi or Coffee, Buy Me a Coffee. And if you like the content and want to just donate, that would be a way to do it. Then I've got my Etsy shop that I just created. Did 2 digital downloads. Have a look at that and see if it's something that you would be interested in. And of course, I've started a Patreon page. For those of you who would like to really support the channel, have a look at that and see if that's something you are interested in. And with that being said, let's get started, shall we? Our fille du roi of this episode is Louise Lecoutre. And she was suggested to me first by a viewer. And quite a surprise to me. As I dug around, I realized she was one of mine. So that was a surprise to me. So the viewer and I, who suggested this, are related. And then also I found in my files, one of my dearest friends from high school and young adulthood is also, she's the one that shares almost my birthday with me. So we're really connected. So let's get to know Louise a little bit better. So we don't know very much about Louise and her origins. We know that she was born approximately 1648, somewhere in France. And that's all the information we have. And there are reasons for the fact that we don't know this information, and it'll become clear to you as we explore her life in a brief moment. What we do know is that Louise came to New France at about the age of 17, and she embarked on the Saint-Jean-Baptiste de Dieppe, and she arrived in Quebec City on June 18th, 1665. So who did she select and who selected her? Let's find out. Well, the groom that she selected and who selected her, his name was Nicola Crevier, and he was the Sœur de Bellerive. So just so you know, Sœur in Old French literally meant sir. It's a man of high, social standing. It has been, I've seen it referred to as the Lord of, but let's, for the purpose of this explanation, let's just say that he's definitely a prominent fellow with some land holdings. That would come later. But he's born about 1647, and where? In Rouen. We've gone to Rouen many, many times. You can see that Rouen is part of the Normandy section of France. So I've circled it on the upper. You see whereabouts in France it is located. Inside of Normandy, it is part of the Seine-Maritime department. So remember that in France, we have regions, and then we have departments, and within those departments, we have what is known as communes, or townships, if you will. Rouen is a very important place to come from. It's a city on the River Seine, hence the Seine-Maritime. It's the capital, actually, of the region of Normandy, and it has an amazing historical story, and was at one time the largest city in medieval Europe. It played a prominent role in both English and French histories from the 11th to the 15th centuries. Joan of Arc was tried and buried alive here in 1431 in this area. Rouen is a city of cultural and educational significance. The Museum of Fine Arts, the Cercle des Tournelles, and the Rouen Cathedral are all found here. The University of Rouen in Normandy is a prestigious educational institution, and it's from this area that the Statue of Liberty sailed in June of 1885. So that's kind of really, this is a really, first of all, it's uppermost on my bucket list to visit. Many of my forebears came from this area, and so I absolutely have to see it. But it is historically very, very important to understand where these people came from. The bottom picture is Rouen as it looks today, and then the upper picture is the church that he would have been baptized in. Now, his parents were Christophe Crevier and Jeanne Eva. Normally, I don't get into his parentage, but I'll tell you why. Let's have a look at the next screen. So Nicolas' parents, were really founding pioneers of Quebec. And Nicolas' father, Christophe, came to New France in 1637, and he served as a baker until 1640, and he lived in Trois-Rivières. In 1641, Jeanne joined him along with one of their children. They remained here for about 3 years, and they had several children who were born actually in New France. By 1642, they returned to France, and I don't know why. I haven't been able to find that out until 1651. So that's why our hero Nicola was born. By 1652, they were celebrating his sister Jeanne's marriage to the future governor of Trois-Rivières, Pierre Boucher. So he was related by marriage he was a brother-in-law to Pierre Boucher. So it becomes very, very kind of connected, if you will. So let's find out more about the Creviers. So the Creviers were truly pioneers in Trois-Rivières. So if this is your heritage, and it is mine, Trois-Rivières is a very, very important part of understanding your ancestry, if you will. And Trois-Rivières is also known as Three Rivers, but we refer to it mainly by its French name. And it was actually only the second settlement of New France. We have Quebec City, and then the next one in 1634 was Trois-Rivières. It was named that because the St. Maurice River has 3 channels that forms at the mouth of the St. Lawrence River, hence the name. And it's one of the reasons why it gains such prominence is that it's a very strategic location on the St. Lawrence River, and it helped the new nation grow and prosper. It proved to be an important battle in the American Revolution, the Battle of Trois-Rivières. Some of you who have ancestors in this area might be surprised that you would qualify for admission to the Daughters or Sons of the American Revolution based on your ancestors' activities. So by 1663, Nicolas' father Christophe had passed away, and his mother was listed as Veuve Crevier, which means widow, the widow Crevier. It is presumed that Nicolas was living with her until his marriage. So I have circled the actual land where the Veuve de Crevier is found. This is just to give you an idea of where Trois-Rivières is in relationship to Quebec and all of that. So it's halfway between Montreal and Quebec City. And then this is a very old map of the fort of Trois-Rivières. So one of the reasons we don't know where Louise comes from is because we can't find a marriage record. And inside a marriage record in New France, you would always find the names of her parents. You would find the location of her baptism usually, or where she's from. So there was no evidence of that. It's very, very possible that Louise was an orphan. And that's why even on the ship's manifest, they did not have any information. She probably didn't know. So that's what I'm surmising. So let's get to know how they build their lives. So Nicola and Louise begin their new life in the 1666 census. We have Nicola and Louise, and they have 5 enfants valaires. So that's that bigger one. The smaller one is the 1667 census, and we have Nicola and Louise. Notice that the ages are a little bit off. And we have a child, Marie-Barbe, who's 3 months old. And we have Jacques, what's his name? Julien, who is 33, and he's a domestic. So that indicates that, the Sœur de Bellerive obviously had some money. It wasn't just about land, but it was obviously he had the ability to pay or have someone work for him. So Nicola and Louise would eventually make their way to Cap-de-la-Madeleine, which is just above Trois-Rivières. So they kind of established their own settlement, if you will, and I think that that is very important to note, that they were not content to, kind of remain in his father's, limelight. He wanted to create his own brand, if you will. And Cap-de-Madeleine was founded, actually, a little bit of history about this place, was founded March 20th, 1651. The establishment was named by Jacques de la Ferté, who was the abbot of Saint Madeleine de Châteaudun in France, hence the name Cap-de-la-Madeleine. And the city is famous for its basilica, Notre-Dame de Cap, and it's dedicated to Our Lady of the Cape. The basilica receives thousands of pilgrims a year and visitors. Pilgrims, people of that faith, are drawn to the site because it is considered to be the place where 2 miracles were performed by the Blessed Virgin Mary. The first being the miracle of the ice bridge, 1879, and the other being the miracle of the eye. Someone, regained their sight in 1888. The first official pilgrimage occurred in 1883 and consisted of roughly 150 people who traveled to the location by foot, if you can imagine. The site is considered to be the first pilgrimage site in North America, excluding Mexico's. During World War I, the Royal Canadian Air Force built and operated No. 11 Elementary Flying Training School as part of the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan at Cap-de-la-Madeleine. The school opened in 1940 and closed in 1944. The airfield was located in what is now a residential area of nearby Rue Maurice and Rue Le Grandmont, in case you wanted to check that out. So you can see here the church, the Basilica, which is extremely renowned. And then, of course, I always like to show you kind of a picture of what it might have looked like when our ancestors came. It's vastly untouched, and this is the shoreline. So beautiful, beautiful place. And these are the children that Nicola and Louise would produce. They would produce 11 children. Marie Barbe, the very first one we saw on that 1667 census, became a nun. But I do not have any other information. Marguerite Louise named Laurent Baudet and had 2 children, both of whom survived. And then she married Robert Groton and had 3 more children, all of whom survived. Madeleine married Charles Lemaitre and had 10 children, all of whom made it. Claude married Marie-Jeanne Petit and had 2 children, both of whom survived. Catherine married first Jean-Baptiste Testard and had 1 child who survived. And then Michel Dessert and had 4 children, 2 of whom survived. Michel married Marie-Angélique Masse and had 3 children, all of whom survived. Then we have Nicola, who I don't have any information on. Jean-Baptiste, no information. And Marie-Jeanne also became a nun. So this is just an interesting, if anybody has information about Nicola and Jean-Baptiste, I would be greatly appreciative. I don't like to put down that they died, but that's all I can surmise. All right, so let's carry on and see what would happen to Nicola and Louise. Absolutely so sad. Louise would die sometime after 1689. If this was her final year of life, she would have been only in her early 40s, a tragically early death, even for that time. She and Nicola would have been married at least 25 years. Nicola would die some 20 years later, after 1709. He would have been about 61. I'm assuming that they are both buried at Le Cimetière Saint-Marie-Madeleine. And as of 1729, they had 96 descendants, which is a remarkable feat, considering that there was only a very small amount of their children who produced descendants. As always, I want to point you in the direction of my favorite resources. We have La Société des Filles du Roi, of which I am a member and the membership chair. Fabulous association dedicated to really honoring les Filles du Roi. We have the Quebec Genealogical E-Society, which is a fairly new kid on the block, but fabulous in terms of connecting those dots. And they have a tremendous amount of webinars and information, so check them out. They are a paying site, but it's well worth the money. Then we have Nos Origines, which I use almost daily. It is a free site, so have a look at that. And I produced all the addresses for you here. Genealogical Québec, Migration, and Facebook are all extremely important in my research, particularly Genealogical Québec. I use it like some people use Ancestry every single day. Couldn't exist without it. So Migration is another one that is dedicated to Filles du Roi, and it is free, but I do donate to it because it's a labor of love for them. And the Facebook group is remarkable in terms of just the kindness, and you know how some groups are not so nice? This group is really nice. So I urge you to have a look at them, even if you're not a Facebook fan. Check it out. And so ends episode 132. We don't know much about Louise's beginnings, but we know that she contributed so much to New France, and certainly marrying into the Crevier family and all their significance. Just amazing in terms of if this is your connection, if this is your family, obviously you're connected by marriage to Pierre Boucher and all of the beginnings of Trois-Rivières. So it is truly a remarkable story. And so we thank Louise for her bravery, for coming across and for contributing much to the success of New France. We bless her memory and we thank her. And with that, I bid you adieu and au revoir until I see you on episode 133.